Hey everybody, I am AR and I wear a bow tie now, because bow ties are cool. Anyhow, what I watched today is Book 3, Chapter 10 of Avatar The Last Airbender, The Day of Black Sun, Part 1, The Invasion. That's right, it's finally here, or more accurately, I finally reached it. This episode starts with the invasion forces arriving, Katara's father and his men, along with many others. First we see the swamp folk, whose intro ends with the funny line, "Pants are an illusion, like death." That's right, man. Fight the tyranny of pants. We see Haru again, the earthbending boy from Season 1. So, way back. That episode where Katara inspired a Fire Nation prison full of earthbenders to rise up and fight for themselves. Next up is the Boulder and the Hippo, top-sold wrestling buddies who apparently live their wrestling personas. This isn't, characters they play. This is apparently just what they're like, which is all kinds of awesome. The inventor or machinist and his wheelchair-bound son arrived, gifting Aang with a new glider, and it has a snack compartment. Awesome. We move to the invasion breathing, and Sokka, due to nerves, just completely botches it. He starts babbling. He's just like, and so, this is how we met Aang, and he completely flubs it. His father, though, he's an experienced leader, and he stands up and takes over, clarifying the plans that his son was trying to get out. We find out that the first major obstacles in the invasion are a great gate at the beginning of the bay, and then a smaller bay entrance with battlements that they need to break through before they actually make landfall. And after the war council, we see everyone gearing up. Toph gets some new armor. Katara makes sure she has a good supply of water on her. And the Water Nation armor has this awesome wolf motif that I just loved. Every detail of these outfits, especially the war stuff, is just phenomenal. I love the little cultural nods in them. And again, this show has some beautiful designs. But this episode really knocks it out of the park. We even see the armor that Sokka's been making for Appa over the last few days, and holy crap, he must have put every moment into it, because it's equally awesome. And holy crap, Sokka, I can't believe you banged that out in a few days. The scene ends as Aang shaves his head and wears at least the top half of his avatar robes once more. Well, more accurately, his airbender robes. And then we go to Zuko taking off his armor and settling in to write a letter, and then right back to the invasion force. After Aang gives Sokka a pep talk, they head to the gates of Azulan. They are impressive, big nets that block the bay, and get lit on fire as soon as they are raised, and just gives a whole huge, fearsome sight, as what I'm guessing is a statue of Azulan stands in the middle with his hands attached to the nets, and it looks like he's firebending across the nets, and that's really a big motif of firebending statues and whatnot, or at least firebender statues and whatnot, is having them look like they're firebending, which is pretty cool, and it's always a really impressive effect. The invasion force, of course, gets spotted approaching this gate, and Fire Nation soldiers rush out and board them on the jet ski things we saw in an earlier episode. And that's when we find out exactly what the Machinist and Sokka were talking about earlier when Sokka asked him, did you figure out those plans I sent you? Submarines. Sokka and the Machinist have invented submarines, though it turns out Sokka's plans were less plans and more, check out this cool thing I drew on what is essentially a napkin! Can you make it? But still, a great idea, and they're using waterbending to make the sub sink and rise. We go back to Iroh's prison. We've hit this at least once before in the episode, but it was a small scene, so I just kind of skipped over it. He warns this one guard that's being kind to him that she should take the rest of the day off. We don't get the payoff for that in this episode, but it kind of shows what we saw before, that Iroh hasn't been idle while he's been in prison. He has friends on the outside, and something is about to go down. And Katara share a touching moment as the subs resurface for air. And we get the kiss for real this time, not a hallucination, but Aang actually kissing Katara. And I'm sure everyone's been waiting nearly 3 seasons for it. Or was waiting when it originally aired. You know what I mean. Honestly, Aang and Katara as a couple don't bother me at this point. His crush on her bothered me way back in like the first season. But, you know, he was an immature kid. He had a crush and he was handling it the wrong way. They've both grown greatly as people and as friends since then. So it's really at the point where I'm kind of like, Katara and Aang are right together. They've both grown close over their journey. And it's clear that they both like each other for who they are. So, good on you, man. Only took you, like, until halfway through book 3 to do it, but kudos. At least now we know that it's something more than just his little kid crush. Admittedly, he's not that much older. It's only been a few months in the timeline of the show. But still, they've been through a lot, and it definitely shows how far they've come. Aang flies ahead, and we switch back to Zuko again, and he's apparently running away, leaving a goodbye letter for Mai. And we get this awesome battle scene as the Avatar's forces force their way past the final guardhouse. One of the coolest parts of this scene is that they have torpedoes made of explosives encased in ice, which they use to blow open these grates in the battlements and provides a route for their subs. And during this scene, like, the Fire Nation is trying to use these chain hooks that they've used in the past to, like, hook the subs and bring them in. But Katara just flies in Appa and uses her water to just slice the chains. And again, I applaud her control because that is an awesome trick. And then, as the subs hit the beach, the front parts of them fold down, and the Earth Nation tanks, propelled much like that subway system in Ba Sing Se, roll out, and it's like, holy crap, these are really well-designed machines. I mean, these are subs that launch from the bottom of boats that have tanks inside them. Like, this is a very meticulous plan, and from what we've been told, a lot of it came from Sokka. So definitely, that's one way to think outside the box. This is some, like, really amazing tech, too, as the Earth Nation tanks move a lot like the Fire Nation drill did before. Sort of like centipedes, like going forward and then coming forward. Going forward, then coming forward. And it kind of, like, it is awesome in that way. Like, they just roll over everything in their path, smashing enemy tanks and fortifications as they go. Hugh, the plant bender, emerges from the water in a seaweed golem, like the vine golem he used to scare the Avatar gang back in Book 2. And he just starts wailing on Fire Nation tanks with it. The other swamp benders are like, what took you so long? And he's like, hey, it took a long time to gather all this seaweed. And I'm like, okay, good point. Well, it's still awesome that he uses plant bending to just gather all that seaweed and make himself another golem. Or, like, plant suit golem thing. This is such a cool scene. And then the Fire Nation unleashes another wave of units, a rhino-mounted unit. And this time, it's the Water Nation foot soldiers' turn to take on the beast. Sokka and his dad in this scene are amazing, both showing themselves to be capable warriors. Sokka showing just how far he came with his master, and his dad showing just, like, how great a Water Tribe warrior he is. Oh, his moves are great, and this is an awesome scene to watch. If I haven't convinced you to watch the show by now, at least please watch this scene. But if you're watching these, you've probably watched the show. But, you know, this is the part where they realize that the battlements up top that are firing down at them are a huge threat. So, they jump on Appa and start attacking the battlements, cutting through them easily. Like Sokka's sword, that meteor metal is just cutting through everything like butter. Him and Katara disable one battlement on their own. Their dad gets another one, but he gets hurt in the process. They can't heal him fast enough, so Sokka, in his little shining moment, steps up and goes, I'll do it. I'll lead. Considering that Aang's pep talk earlier that I mentioned told Sokka that his moment of truth would be on the battlefield, that he didn't fail at the war meeting, he would prove himself on the battlefield, and now he's doing this whole like taking command thing. Kind of a cool bit of like foresight there. We go for a moment to Zuko visiting a little shrine to his mother before grabbing his stuff and leaving the palace. With their Aang arrives at the Imperial Palace about this time after Sokka starts leading the invasion force and finds it completely deserted. The Fire Nation soldiers are falling back in front of the invasion, but it seems like a token force. Kind of like, where are the rest of the soldiers? This seems like too few to have so close to the Imperial Palace. And Aang searches the palace high and low. The Fire Lord is nowhere to be found. The whole place is empty. Like they knew they were coming. So either a mole leaked their plans, or the Fire Lord, knowing the Black Sun was coming, retreated to a safer location. I'm really psyched to see part 2 so we can find out exactly what's going on here. Anyhow, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.